Hey there, it's Renessa Boley Layne, and I want to welcome you to another conversation on creating your perfect work. We are in the middle of our Love and Work Summit. And so if you've missed any part of this interview series, go back, catch up. And as I always say, whether you are married, single, coupled up, dating, craving love, or running as far away from love as you possibly can, there is something in this series for you. And so today's conversation is about healing.
Mm.
And what's dangerously fascinating about healing is that many of us don't even recognize that we have something that we need to heal from. And in reality, however, healing is the one thing that could be standing between us and the love that we desire, us and the career, business, or mission that we were born to lead. And that's healing in big ways, like big, giant, enormous, scary, big T ways. And it's healing in small ways. And so this conversation, I think, is going to be so poignant because it's a foundation on which we are really able to kind of do this love and work dance. And this woman sharing the screen with me is simply extraordinary. And I don't use that word lightly. I really mean what I say. Sarah Schulting Krantz has survived and thrived through multiple traumas and has committed herself to helping other women develop the resilience to do the same. Her recovery journey has become a documentary, actually, in production, titled Walk Through This, a story of starting over. And Sarah founded Live Boldly Coaching and became the first coactive professional life and leadership coach, wilderness first responder, and multidimensional partner trauma model certified coach in the world. It's a mouthful of stuff,
A lot
and
of
you're going
stuff.
to figure out as you learn and hear from her, you're going to figure out why. But she's a bad woman and she's doing great things and she is transforming people's lives and she is helping people to set themselves free. So with a vision and dream that began in her 40s, she began guiding transformational coaching, hiking, and meditation retreats in the Grand Canyon. And not only does she guide clients physically through the canyon, but also emotionally, mentally, and if they choose, spiritually deep within themselves. And so you're going to learn so much from Sarah. This is going to be a rich conversation. And so with that, Sarah, I just want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you for having me. Every time I hear that, it just makes my heart pitter patter, to be honest with you. It makes my heart stop for a second. It's been coming up on 10 years. It's exciting.
Yeah. 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 And so I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to dive into your book. I know it's being made into a documentary, but I am walking through I am reading through the book, Walk Through This. And I recommend for those of you who are listening in, this becomes one of these books that you add to the ever increasing list of books to read, but add it there because it really is good. But Sarah, you might get tired of telling the story. It's so riveting. I'm like, she's told it for the 250th time, probably, but your story is amazing. And it's such a mark of what I think is victory, and I think will inspire women both in their love and their work. Share with us kind of how you got here, because it's a thing.
It, it,
It's a thing.
we were laughing about this the first time I met you. I just fell in love with you. I was like, I love her energy, and we were talking about it's a thing. It's a thing. And I will tell you, trauma is a thing. Like, and I think that it's the thing. It's the one thing that so many of us don't look at
Yeah.
because we get afraid of it. We get scared of it. We don't want to talk about it. And in reality, it is actually the most beautiful foundation, as hard as that can be to hear. I just sat in a group with a group of divorcing men and women, and I explained this to them. I said, do not run from the one thing that can be your greatest classroom in life. And
Yes.
unfortunately, what happens is that people look at that, they walk into that door of trauma, and it becomes so overwhelming. And it's like, I can't go there. I don't want, how do I learn this? What do I do with this?
Mhm.
And they unfortunately close the door and choose to never open it again. And the beautiful thing about our traumas, and I'm going to dive into this, is that we are not, and I want you to listen to the story and understand this too. You are the teacher, you are the learner, you are the child that is a creative sitting there learning from all of your past. You are the author, the writer, you are the you are everything. You are everything in this space of learning from your most difficult setbacks, traumas, and challenges in life.
Mhm.
So mine started at 17. and I'm turning 50 this year. Go me. I'm super
Yeah.
excited about it. At 17, I was raped by somebody that I knew. I ended up getting pregnant. Unfortunately, the police refused to press charges. Yes, I have told the story over and over again. And it was a really horrible time in my life because there were two things that happened. Number one, I was told not to speak, right? I was told like you can't, like you know, your story doesn't matter. As I'm sitting in a police station surrounded by men and they're sitting there questioning me, what did I do to cause it,
Yeah.
right? I was literally in that moment. I was told just shut up, do what you got to do, and unfortunately, we're not going to believe you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened though at that same moment, and I'm giving this to you very, very quickly because there is a lot here. And I know that some of it can be very triggering. The
Mm-hmm.
thing that I also learned in that time in my life was the most important relationship that you can have is that one within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
At 17 years old, it was a very difficult time. I had to stand up against people that, you know, I never imagined that I was going to have to stand up against. I did choose to have my child. And yes, he is my firstborn and he's a beautiful young man today. What I ended up doing during that time was going back to college. I became a art teacher, went and got my degree, loved, you know, went to the 4-year school and ended up meeting and marrying the man of my best friend. He was a man life. I mean, he was like the love of my life, right? Now, fast forward, it ended up being at the age of 40 that I found out that most of our marriage was not what I thought. And he had been betraying me for 14 of our 17 years of marriage with men, had no idea that there was a whole double down low life happening. What happened during that time, though, is that I remembered everything that I learned at the age of 17, most of which I learned from my mom, who just most recently passed away.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just been devastating not having her here. Um, and she's here, you know,
Yes.
she's here and she's working through me and I feel her all the time. But she was the woman, she was the mom that walked me down Main Street at 17 and said, hold your head high. People may not believe you, but they will someday.
Yeah.
And she was a very spiritual woman. And I did get a lot of my spirituality from my mom. A lot of things that I found out post her passing, which now I'm like, wow, we're even more alike than what I realized, right? During that time though, in my early 40s, when I found everything out, it was one of two things. You either fall into what can be the rabbit hole of life, or you can use all of this and allow it to not trigger the difficulties, not trigger what can, because it literally can. Your past can trigger,
Yeah.
your present can trigger your past, which then can make things that much more difficult. Or it can trigger something in you that you never thought was there, that you never knew was there. And that's what happened for me. It was like this, oh, here we go again. Wow, does this feel very, very familiar to me, right? Like
Right.
betrayal, I mean, everything. And I ended up during those first 2 years grabbing my paddleboard. I would go on to the Pacific Ocean. I would paddle with whales and dolphins. I went into nature. And the reason why is because at 17, I did a lot of nature healing then as well. I
Oh.
just didn't even realize it. I didn't even realize
Mhm.
that's what I was doing. And then, you know, at the age of 40, I started climbing mountains. And the more that I discovered about myself, the more I wanted to discover more. And then it ended up leading me to a business that I created because my therapist at the time, she was one of my dear friends, and she said, "You've got something here, girl. Like
Mhm.
all of this that you've lived through is not for nothing." And I
Mhm.
knew that. Right. And so I ended up starting a business, and then one thing led to the other. And now here I am with you, which is like, right. It's like,
Yeah.
I think it's just such a beautiful testament to not, you can use those difficulties to really create something that can help other people and create a better world.
Yeah. Yeah. I love your story. It's interesting. I wish I thought about it. I was like, I should share my screen so people can see her on top of the mountain with these 6-inch red heels. So y'all Google her name and you will see these amazing pictures of her on top of these amazing mountains with these like 6-inch stilettos, and she's looking just awesome.
tell you,
I'm
like,
never gonna print it out and put it on my vision board so then I can do some crunches or something. But I'm telling you, it is inspiring. But in all seriousness,
yeah.
I really I it was important to me as I learned her story for her to tell the story for the 251st time because there's just so much in there. This whole series is about love and work. It's about, your marriage and dating and intimate relationships and getting highly paid doing work you love and the marriage of, all of that together. And in her story, there was the opportunity to close herself off from love forever,
Mhm.
from at 17 to be scarred and distrusting and what, like she could have gone whatever direction she wanted. And then at 40, there's the junction of, okay, I've given my life and my world. We have family and all of this. And you wake up and you don't know somebody and what level of distrust that can create. And so all of these decisions she gets to make in terms of who am I going to be. And from a work standpoint, you're 40 years old at a time where you're thinking you're on the other side of the professional, kind of
Right.
whatever. And then to have to start all over and figure out who am I and what am I going to bring to the marketplace and all the instability or insecurity and all of that comes with being uncoupled from something that you've been like there's just so much there.
So much
and
there.
and so for many of you listening in, you might have so much there or you might have a sliver of that. And
Yeah.
being, because the women who come to me, they're at that place. I've invested 15, 20 years into this direction in my career. How can I make a pivot? Is this really the time? Should I just, and so really being able to see that you change is always possible and you can ride the wings of grace to really find that place of where you belong and where you're going to serve, and everything that you have been through is in service of where you are going next. Everything, every story, every pain, every, the good, the bad, all of it comes together. Like there's no perfect person to do what she does in the Grand Canyon and all these other places than her.
Yeah.
Everything about her is designed for that. And so the same holds true for you as well. And so I hope whatever little kernel you needed to pull out for you that you heard that because it's just so powerful. But you say, Sarah, that and you said it already just moments ago, the most important relationship that we have is with ourselves. And
Yes.
that's what it seems cliche, and it seems a little trite, and it seems surfacey, but there's so much under the
So
under
much.
the surface for that. Tell us what you mean by that and how that became so very true for you.
So, what's wild about all of this is that since my mom's passing, it's even been that much more deep uh, in like the way that I actually am as a woman, as a mother. I mean, every part of it, right? If you think about it, this is how deep this is. If you think about it, your grandmother was pregnant with your mother, right? And during that time that your mother was in your grandmother's womb, the female reproductive systems were being created within her that ultimately became you.
Yeah.
So when we really sit with how deep this is in terms of the relationships genetically, how things are passed on to us, and the depth of relationship that you can understand not only within yourself, but within the history of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? It's within
Yeah.
also the history of yourself. And then sitting with this awe and this wonder of like, whoa, I am a creation with all of that.
Yeah.
And that alone is such a freaking gift.
Yeah.
And so when I talk about the relationship, it's not only like, oh yeah, have a relationship with yourself. It's that deep understanding genetically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally about who I am as a woman, as a mother, as a friend. And here's the other thing of it, it's always changing. Every single part of you is changing all of the time as we are, I don't know, it's not aging, but as we are
Yeah.
growing into who we are.
Yeah.
Right. And so for me, when I remember I fell on the floor when I was in this group of people, I was in a room full of people, and somebody mentioned the word honesty and truth.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about what's important to us and our values. And this is after everything happened. And I literally fell on the floor in a crying fit
Wow.
to the point that like my heart felt like it was being wrung out. And they all let me go. They all just, facilitator, somebody had asked her, should I get her tissues? And she said, no, just let her go. This is what she needs right now in this moment. Just hold space. And what happened in that one moment was this realization of how much that I have dedicated my life to truth and honesty, and how that person that was who was supposed to be my best friend was not being honest with me, nor was he being truthful and honest with himself.
Yeah.
And the impact of that. So those first 2 years were they were so developmental in that understanding of what's important to me. Going back home to what are my values, not only what are my values, but defining them, like having a definition for every single one of them. And where am I not using them in my life? Where am I not honoring them? And where can I honor them more? And I will say that one of the most important things that I realized were the patterns of my relationships. Now, since my mom's passing, I've also looked at my mom and I were very, very close and still are. But looking at her patterns of relationships and how her decisions and choices within her relationships impacted myself subconsciously, unconsciously, without me even realizing it. Most important, I will say, how much it impacted my worthiness. And how that also, within every thread of our being, when we're talking about the impacts of our relationships and how that impacts our business, right, in our professional life, how much that alone impacted my business for so long. And the more that I developed that internal relationship with myself, the more that my business thrived, by the way. Because there's this correlation between the two, right? But really, it's looking at the patterns of your past as well and understanding what got me to this place right here.
You know, it's funny because you talk about, what are my values? And I could give $1 for every time that, you hear people talk about values. And on the surface, like people can give surface answers to, oh, I value this or I value that, but when you truly understand or take the time to understand, what do I really value? Like, what is really important to me? What delights me? What literally lifts my soul? Like, what are those things? And then you evaluate, is that how I actually live my life?
Right.
I think that for most people, the answer would be, that is not how I live my life. Like, it's not how I live my life.
I know.
And so literally, like, I go through these interviews and it's as much for the audience as it is for me. Like, I was like, okay, note to self, go back and figure out what the hell you value again. Like on a much deeper level, because there are things that I know that I value that I'm not living out every day. And we have these milestone moments where we think, oh, when I get here, or when I earn this much revenue, or when I get this role, then I'll make space for that. No. It's the embodying of the value that gets you to the place.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
And so understanding, and countless women will come into my space, and we do a lot of work around them understanding and connecting the dots to who they are. And inevitably, they'll have this whole like beautiful tapestry of, this is who I am, and it's who I've always been, and here's how I'm connecting the dots all the way through. And then when it comes time to, now let's materialize that into career and business and all of this, they will shrink so far back and be like, well, I think I should do X. I'm like, how did you get here from here? Why are you going to do that in the marketplace? This is everything that you love. I understand why it happens, but it is this idea that you knowing and loving who you are and what you have to offer, either to people in love relationships and such, but to the marketplace, you gotta get it. You gotta get it. And when you like it will change the way you walk through Wednesday. Like, not special holiday, just Wednesday. It will change how you show up. But it takes pausing, and it really does take absorbing painful experiences and absorbing disappointments and observing and really dissecting what life is teaching in order to be like, you know what, this is what I'm about as a woman, and I'm unavailable for anything outside of that, just unavailable. And it will change how we walk through our lives. It changes how we make decisions. It changes what things we allow ourselves to be afraid of and all of that. Because you could have easily gone and done something so much more conventional as a business
Oh,
or as a
yeah.
but
Oh,
what
yeah.
you do is so amazing and unique and different, but it is everything about you. It is so, it's like it's everything about who you are. It's just next question. So,
I just love you.
one of the one of the topics that you speak a lot about is forgiveness.
Yes.
And you said that forgiveness literally saved your life.
100%.
And now you have, in many ways, become a thought leader on forgiveness. Like Brene Brown is to vulnerability, you are the thought leader around forgiveness. And you have a very unique definition about what forgiveness is. Tell us about, A, how it saved your life, and B, why it's so important for women to master.
So it saved my life because if I didn't learn to forgive, I would be carrying all of my ex-husband's pain. I would be carrying the pain of what happened to me at 17. I would be carrying a lot of pain.
Mm-hmm.
And every single day I wake up, and it's a practice, first of all. This is not a one and done. I want to make that very clear to people. Because unfortunately, people think, oh, if I forgive, it's just going to release me from these chains of the and everything. And that's not the case. This is a practice every day of waking up and saying, today I choose to forgive. Now, the very first person that I tell people to work on forgiving is yourself. Because you're human beings that are not perfect. And unfortunately, so many of us believe that we should be. And so when we do things that we're like, okay, why did I eat that gallon of ice cream last night? Or why did I, whatever it is, right? We take that and we hold on to the shame, and we hold on to, the guilt and everything else, instead of actually sitting with, okay, first of all, what caused it, right? What can I do differently next time? And then forgiving myself. It is a practice every single day. We are really hard on ourselves, right? And unfortunately. And so this practice of forgiveness is something that I didn't even realize that I was doing it, but I started it way back at 17. And then when I was 42, 43-ish, well, first of all, guess what? Okay, this is the interesting thing about this. The very first day that I found everything out, it was Thanksgiving 2013, and I was sitting on a couch, and he walked upstairs that next morning, that Friday morning after Thanksgiving, and he told me what had happened, what he had been doing. I knew that something was going on. Read about it in the book. I knew that something was going on, but I couldn't put my finger on it, right? And he had come home the night before Thanksgiving tripping on drugs. And so we went through Thanksgiving Eve, all day Thanksgiving. And it wasn't until Friday morning that he finally could get to the place of telling me what's been going on in his life. And I was so mad. I was so mad. When you go through complex PTSD, when you have something like that hit you, the anger and the flooding of everything, right? The very first thing I said to him was, I will forgive you someday. I want a divorce, and I will forgive you someday. And I had no idea where those words came from. And I believe that they came from that girl at 17 that had already walked through so much pain and was like, I'm not going to hold on to this too. I'm just not. And so the process of forgiveness, though, it's not about forgetting. It's not pardoning it. It's not saying it's okay. It literally is a journey of no longer holding on to the projected pain that other people hand to us, including the pain that we give to ourselves. And instead saying, okay, this is what I'm going to do differently next time. This is what got me here. This is what I'm going to do differently next time. I'm going to set this pain down. I'm going to choose healthy. I'm going to choose peace and freedom.
Yeah. What's amazing about what's amazing about kind of the way you see forgiveness is that it's not forgetting. It's not that it's okay. It's not that there's not a consequence. It's not that now we're going to be friends because I've forgiven you, so therefore we can have this repaired relationship. None
Right.
of that has to be the case, but it is that I get to release the flaming bag of doo-doo that I've been carrying around,
Yeah.
as a result of whatever hurt you have brought my way. Right. And so while the situation may not be my fault, I am still responsible for how I'm going to free myself moving forward.
Yes.
Otherwise, everything after that situation is on me. Like the state of my life, the state of my, emotions, the state of, like, all of that's on me. It doesn't, to your point, it doesn't mean that it's a one and done. There may be a lot of work over an extended period of time, but I'm responsible for living the life that I want to live based on, when we talked about loving yourself and figuring out your values and all of that. If I value going through life in a certain way, then this hurt or this pain or this toxicity or this resentment or this bitterness or this whatever can't come along, because that's
Right.
actually not a part of who I say I want to be. It's not easy, but it is necessary. And so people, I think, can see that when it comes to big things like huge trauma and all of that. But I really believe that learning to forgive in the small ways
No.
is equally as powerful, because it's the little foxes, it's the little things, especially if you're in relationship with people and in marriages and dating. Like every day you are having to forgive something that went down. Otherwise, you are now spiraling or dragged through or retarded in some way because I'm pissed off about something that happened last week.
Right.
Now I'm not focusing on what needs to get done creatively or whatever and all of this. Why? Because I haven't forgiven, or we can't come to repair because I'm holding on to stuff. Or this my friend made me mad, or my mama made me mad, or something, something.
Yes.
And so really having to get into the practice of letting go of the charge that comes with. It doesn't mean that you don't set boundaries, doesn't mean that you don't have hard conversations around what's not acceptable, and so on and so forth. But I think for lots of women, we carry around a lot of stuff that comes from not letting things go. And letting go might not necessarily be the right word either, but really letting the charge of different, and letting the trigger, or not being so available to be triggered by
Right.
things. And so it's powerful. You shared the story about rocks. I'm just gonna say
Rock
rocks.
in the bag.
Yep, rocks in the bags. I listened to something and heard her telling
Oh,
the story, and I was like, you gotta tell the story again because there's so much applicability to it. And it was kind of funny as you were telling it. I was like, what did they do to her?
why would they do that? Because I have friends that they think it's funny. I don't know. You know, so I live my life in a lot of metaphors. I have found, a lot of analogies. I was hiking Sequoia National Park with a group of friends, and I had my pack on, and I would set my pack down to go to the bathroom or to go do something that I had to do. And I came back and just lifted my pack up, went on my merry way. And then I would go and put my hand into my pack, and there were rocks in there. Like, not just rocks. We're not talking just rocks, but we're
Not
talking
pebbles.
like big rocks, right? And I was like, guys, what gives? Well, we want to slow you down. I'm like, so you put rocks in my pack? Come on, that's not cool. And this happened several times where I would put my pack down. I'd go. We were hiking from lake to lake, so I would go swim in the lake. I'd come out, put my pack on, go to the next lake, put my hand in, more rocks. And I was like, this just isn't cool. And it got to the point where I realized how many people in my life had been putting their rocks in my pack unknowingly to me. And I have been carrying that stuff around. And it's heavy. When you're carrying a bunch of stuff around that's not yours, it becomes very, very heavy.
Yeah.
And so it became this metaphor for mine of like, when and this is on a daily basis, I literally sit back and go, what is mine to hold and what is not? Where is the
Mm.
projection of pain and where there is not?
Mhm.
Where do I have to surrender to the contract that might be coming through or not?
Mhm.
And where is this for me to sit down? Like, where
Mhm.
do I surrender to it and just say, okay, right now I have done everything that I can. This is not mine to hold, because it's
Mhm.
not. There's
Yeah.
so many things in life that we try to control. And in reality, if we can actually sit back and say, okay, what is my response, not my reaction? Where can I put this in motion? And where can I let this be, the being and the
Mhm.
doing?
Yeah.
Right. And this is literally for life, business, and everything. And it has
Yeah.
been one of the most powerful things for me, because throughout my life, there were so many things that I felt like I had to control. And in reality, again, it goes back to that relationship. The number one most important relationship that you can have is with yourself. And
Mhm.
that's the one thing that you can control,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so many things in life, it's about surrendering.
Mhm.
You can't force stuff. When we try to force stuff, it does literally, we constrict. It doesn't work.
Yep.
What we can do, though, is when people hand their stuff to you, you can set that down. And again, that is a lot that plays into a lot of the forgiveness piece too, the forgiveness work. I found
Mhm.
myself carrying so much pain that wasn't mine. And I was
Mhm.
like, this is toxic. This is
Mhm.
toxic. And I can't soar carrying other people's stuff. None
Yep.
of us can.
Yeah. And so as you're listening in, you ask yourself that question in your own relationships, in your own marriage, in your own dating relationship, whatever. What's mine to hold here? Because everybody's on their journey. You're on your own journey of growth and change and this and that. Your partner's on their own journey. In some places, y'all might be parallel. In some places, y'all might not be aligned. You might be further along, vice versa, whatever. But a lot of times the conflict happens because we are taking on somebody else's belief system, somebody else's fears, somebody else's model of the world. And you can't change anybody. As much as you love whomever you're with, that person is still individual with agency in their own way of, looking at the world and so on and so forth. And so lots of conflict happens because I'm taking on somebody else's mess. And can't you see it the way that I see it? Blah, blah, blah. I can't change the way you see it.
You can't.
I gotta, have patience with you or grace with you or bless you or what have you. And I'm going to let you see it how you see it. And I'm going to keep it pushing because that is not mine to hold. And then you're able to come back to peace or figure out where you get to collaborate and so on. But oftentimes we are so busy trying to change the other person's point of view or make them see it the way that I see it or whatever, that you're not able to get to the business of really developing a really strong relationship. And so when you let go of stuff that is not yours, not catching that one, it will head a number of arguments off at the pass as well. And so it's a big lesson to take in relationship, but I love it. I actually will probably adopt them. Like, nope, that's not mine.
Fine. Fine. And there was so my business, I don't know if you know this or not, I birthed when I was sitting on my paddleboard in the Pacific Ocean. I literally, that's where I had my idea of
Mhm.
I want to take people out into the wild. And
Yep.
my book got birthed out. My book was literally birthed out there. 3 words: truth, inspiration, hope. The words that I
Mhm.
live by, that was birthed out there. My tattoo was birthed out there, which is my mom's handwriting on
Oh.
says forgive on the outside of my arm,
Mhm.
birthed out there. And if you don't mind, I'd like to read 2 sentences to you that I think are
Yes.
like
Yes.
hugely impactful.
Yes.
So I have a habit of carrying my phone everywhere because I like to take notes.
Mhm.
And I was a few miles offshore on the Pacific Ocean, and this was downloaded to me. Call it from God, spirit, universe, whatever. And it was, one person cannot repair what it takes 2 people to work on, so quit trying. I know, ouch. And because we so often we want to fix, right? And we
Yeah.
cannot fix. You cannot fix another human being. You can work and love on yourself. And the
Yes.
second thing is the biggest one. This was huge. Now, How many of you are sitting with this one? By constantly trying to fix others' mistakes, you are sabotaging their life lessons and responsibility for their actions while dismissing your own life in the process.
Mm-hmm. Mind your own business.
Mind your own business, because
Yeah.
here's the thing is that when you're putting yourself into other people's spaces where they're needing to take care of themselves, you're dismissing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're taking that time and that energy and that beautiful space that you can be putting into you, into your growth and into your healing and your, your business, your whatever it is, and you're putting it to them. And in reality, they're their own teacher.
Mm-hmm.
They can take care of themselves. They're on their own journey too. Even with our most intimate, loving relationships, husband, wife, partners, whatever it is, right? Like marriages, whatever it is, we have to be taking care of ourselves.
Yeah. And so the beauty in this conversation is this idea of learning to love yourself. And again, not in the superficial trait, it's on a greeting card kind of way, but really stopping and reflecting and doing the work to understand who am I, which is a chapter in your book, actually. Who am I? What am I about? What delights me? What matters? How do I want to feel? What emotions do I want to define my experiences on any given day? And then have a real heart to heart around, is that how I'm living?
Yeah.
Because that's the birthright. Like, you get to do that every day. You don't need a ticket to the C-suite in order to earn the right to live and be and feel and experience life on a day-to-day basis how you want to do it. Now, again, there's challenges, there's other people, there's, things go, it's not always perfect. But I do believe that as women, most of us live so far below the barometer of what is amazing. Like, so far below. And it's always like it's on the other side of this launch, this product launch. It's on the other side of the promotion. It's on the other side of the kids going to school. It's on the other side of the marriage getting better. It's on the other side of something, but you don't even know what it would look like if it was good.
Right.
And I just think, you're hitting 50 and I'm like, oh, I'm right behind him, 47. So I'm like, please do 50 well.
You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about that.
Check, got it.
Check, totally got it.
But so at this stage of my life, joy is just a premium. Like, it's a premium. And so knowing that about yourself, do whatever it takes to be able to get there. So the forgiveness, all the stuff, whatever do all the things that are required for you to be unencumbered. If that means you're 40 and you're starting a whole new career and a whole new business and you're trying to figure that out, come to me. But do the thing, like do the thing that Sarah has shown as a model can be done. If it means that I want to experience my day differently, I got to streamline some things and take stuff off of my plate that just bring no joy to my life. Figure it out. Figure it out. Because again, the best and most important relationship you have is with yourself. And from that place of overflow, where your cup overflows, then you can connect with a significant other. Then you can put yourself out in the dating space and be magnificent and radiant and just attractive and magnetic and all that. Then all the other comes, right? And so I just thank you for being a model of overcoming and a model of resilience and a model of, designing your life and living it. I'm really, really excited about that. And with that, as we begin to close out, Sarah has an amazing free gift for all of you that are listening in. And free gifts are always important. And they're important for the sake of the gift, but more importantly, for the opportunity for you to connect to her ecosystem. and connect to her world. And she makes great posts on LinkedIn.
Oh, do you like that?
She has great posts on LinkedIn. Connect with her on LinkedIn. Just to, the
Thank
stories
you.
are cool. The pictures are even better. But she has got, like, how you get stuff in your news feed. And then there's just some folks who are like, I like your stuff. That's one of them. She's one of those. So
Thank
connect with her. But when again, whatever free gift she's going to talk about in a moment, but this allows you to stay connected. If she's having an amazing retreat or something like that that you want to be a part of, like, you'll know about it. But she's just got lots of words of wisdom and sage sound advice for transformation. And so you just want to be connected to good people. So with that said, what you got? And then we'll just direct people on how to get there.
It's so funny because I actually have people that call me Sage. So there you go. I like that. Yeah. So there's so much in my website too. So please definitely go into my website. We do have one last, actually. So the Grand Canyon's redoing the water pipeline through 2027. So we have a retreat coming up in June, and I don't know when the next ones are going to be. So if you're interested in that, come on that with us, June 4th through the 8th. We have a free gift, 5 free meditations, I believe is what we have right now. And the beautiful thing is that they also correlate with the book. And so you can go in, listen to those. I love my meditations. Take them outside, go lean up on a tree, lie on the grass, look up at the sky, listen to them. There's nothing like a good nature meditation to also take you into that space. Or if you're sitting at the desk and you need something, a few minutes of just like zoning in, let me go zone with you. Yes. And we do have retreats coming up in the San Juan Mountains. That's all women's. And then, Alaska will be kayaking next to glaciers. Last year we had a whale follow us from island to island, which was really, really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
It's very cool. It's very cool. Yeah. I just appreciate everybody listening and taking the words of wisdom into their heart and into their day, because that's what's most important for me.
Yes. So you will find the link at the bottom of this interview. So just click on the link. You'll enter your name and email address. You'll get those 5 free meditations, and you'll be connected to Sarah and her world. So thank you again for offering your generous spirit, your words of wisdom, your charge for transformation, and just living such a victorious life. I so appreciate that. And from both Sarah and myself, we just want to wish you every blessing and every success and all of that. And we will see you all the next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.